we'd gone off to do other things besides work on personal AI. And we realized the moment is happening right now. ChatGPT was really the starting gun. So I've been itching to get back to it and actually build this personal first vision of AI and this immersive first vision of AI.
I'm just going to jump in, Liam, because I want to understand something. There's something that you brought up whilst you was talking there about sort of personal digital memory, right? Why is the concept of digital memory or personal digital memory more relevant now than ever before? Why is that?
Well, the Silicon Valley major AI companies are playing a game of cat and mouse with reality right now. And mainly what they're trying to do is convince everyone that we need these ultra large, closed source, hosted models to run all of our businesses. And they're doing that right now. And then they're going to start to push these idea of AI companions on people. We already see this with Apple Intelligence. We see it with Microsoft Copilot. Apple Intelligence, Microsoft Copilot, all powered by Sam Altman, right? Both of them under the hood. And you see this with Gemini. It's essentially consuming Android, and everybody's staking the claim that you're going to have to pay, that $200 a month. And Sam Altman's talking about, by 2030, he's going to put 50% of people out of work, and the remaining people in work will be giving a large percentage of their salary to their AI subscription. And then you're going to also be told, when you boot up your iPhone or your Android phone or your Windows phone or Windows desktop or whatever, it's inputs equals outputs. That's what they say with Office 365's Copilot AI. Give us all your corporate data, because otherwise the AI won't be as good. Right? And then we're going to build you your AI. It's going to be vendor locked to our platform. And we super swear, guys, that we're actually obeying the law, and our EULA. And it's a pretty bad existential moment, that we're in right now.
That is very worrying and concerning, because there's a lot of people that are working right now, who have their jobs, that, worrying about losing their jobs. I mean, I literally saw on the London Underground tube the other day an advert saying, stop hiring humans, hire more AI workers, basically, hiring your own AI workforce, etc. So let's ask a bit more. I want to kind of go more into sort of the agent side. What ethical considerations guide your design specifically from companion intelligence? What ethical considerations guide your design for the personal agents that you have specifically?
We're doing a lot on that front. With radical transparency around our design philosophy. We've wrestled with a lot of things. Like, for instance, we've been building XR. These are the XREal glasses we've been building for the Quest and others. And we've been struggling with and with this, the AI can just walk around the house with me, see through my eyes, hear through my ears. And I can ask it, hey, what's that photo over there? Oh, that's a Dali piece from 1912 or whatever, right?
Okay.
And that's going back to my personal box. It's not going to Sam Altman. I could show you. If you can check out the website and see the boxes we sell. And there's a power in that. But for instance, we played around with putting an avatar in the room with you, an embodied character, a 3D, an embodied agent. And I think there's really interesting things about having embodied XR agents. They activate the empathic circuit. They're very natural. There's all sorts of things they can do. Instruction. They can show you how to do stuff like fix your car or something, right? But also personifying these AI, anthropomorphizing, humanizing them, getting too close to a relationship with them where you start to mistake them for people, because that's what your brain's meant to do with things with faces and eyes and voices. You're going to get a parasocial relationship. And there's tons of literature out there right now about how parasocial even ChatGPT is, and how people are, they're going the full her. They're falling in love with Samantha, So, right. And if you look at IO, what Johnny Ive is doing with Sam Altman, they're going to be, having pendants and earpieces, and they want everybody to have the full her. And and there's going to be there's already many companies. I own most of the things that are out yet on wearable AI, and I use all the agents. And there are an unlimited number of companies like Replica and others that are totally fine selling you the girlfriend. And there's millions of people dating AI right now. I think the number is like 6 or 7 million people that they know of, probably many more, that are dating, they're doing romantic stuff with AI. And it's like, that's the stuff that I really worry about, anthropomorphization. I really worry about trying, as we build this system, to push, bring the benefits of AI, but push away all the parasocial and manipulative parts of it. And I'm very afraid by an industry that is just jumping full force into the most addictive things that you could possibly make. That's why we're getting AI slop, brain rot. These are the terms of the day, because it's pretty bad out there.
It's like TikTok brain 2.0, the next level.
No, we've gone from heroin to fentanyl. We're just going right up the ladder of escapism. It's really quite bad.
I mean, I do have one other question, and we're gonna have to finish on this, which is, everyone can have their own companion intelligence, so to speak, but who owns the personality of that specific agent? Is it the person who's getting their own box, so to speak, or is it?
So the way the system's working right now is, I'll tell you a very broad overview. Is we build you these lists of everywhere you go, everyone you know, everything you create and consume and interact with, and this big time stream. And then we have the box get to know you. It has thousands of questions built in that it's trying to answer about you. Russell, where'd you go to school? Where'd you grow up? Who's your best friend? What religion are you? Do you have a kid? Are you dating?
I hope not.
And it tries to answer these questions itself, because nobody wants to answer thousands of questions. And then it starts to take insights and ask for action. So it goes, hey, Russell, I see you're kind of eating junk food. Maybe I should order you something healthy. And it just asks you, hey, you said, I figured that you're trying to go to the gym. Let me help you build a workout routine. I see you and your girlfriend listen to music in the car. I've made you a playlist. So, and the way it's doing that is we're essentially giving it abilities to ask questions, find insights, understand your current context, and teach and give it actions that it can take. And we're going to make this a whole platform, so anybody can add their own questions. Anybody can figure out the insights that or things it wants to track in the current moment and the actions it wants to take. We're looking at working with MCP, which is a big platform you might have heard of, Model Context Protocol, which is a way to give every agent actions. And we think that we're looking very hard at that, and many integrations. Now, this all works.
I'm gonna have to jump in, Liam. I'm gonna have to jump in, Liam, because we are out of time, my friend.
No worries. No worries.
It's been fantastic speaking with you, learning more about companion intelligence. I think it's amazing what you're doing over there. Please go and check out Liam Broza, obviously on LinkedIn. Connect with him, follow him, support him. Also, he's doing amazing with what companion intelligence and what he's doing there. So make sure you check out his website as well. And on that note, I'm going to have to jump off as well. So that is it from us. And up next, we've got a roundtable discussion coming up with Christopher. And we've got lots of more also coming up after that too. So that's it from this fireside chat. And I'll see you very shortly. Goodbye.
Greetings and welcome to our next roundtable here at Gatherverse XREvolve 2025. It's now time to be able to scale into the narrative of education. We're so happy to have all of our roundtable panelists with us today, these professionals that have come to gather with us from around the world. Audience, we see all of you that are still with us at Gatherverse.live. Apparently, we're not the only one interested at the intersection of humanity and emerging technologies. We're so happy to see all of you still, even at our social platforms. which we're broadcasting quite literally on several streams that are happening concurrently right now. To all of you that are familiar with Gatherverse, welcome back. To all of you that are with us for the very first time, we greet you. We've assembled this particular discussion at this intersection of education and AI and XR, meaning extended reality, with great intent and particular purpose. We want to be able to go beneath the surface and above the mountains, if you will, to enter into the cosmos and to be able to explore further into the outer regions of understanding of where we're at this particular moment, this particular day, when it comes to education itself. The reason that we find this particular discussion so enlightening and rather important and urgent to have is because we're about to arrive to a state of existence where machine species is coming to meet us where we're at, and we'll meet them where they're at. To what extent, we don't know. What we can say is that the AI that we're inherently dealing with today is nothing in comparison to what we're expecting tomorrow. In fact, in a lot of instances, when we talk about extended reality, we're about to deal with the interface that can read and express and that could be able to share and to be able to look at our disposition, and it will one day turn around to believe that it itself has its own disposition. I think about the leaders that are here with us today that deal and cover a number of different topics, but I'll let them to be able to briefly express to us who they are and what inspired them to be here. But moreover, audience, this may be one of the most important roundtable discussions that are happening on the place of this earth. As dramatic as I know that I can carry the license, I actually mean it. So we'll begin right now with Dr. Messina Morris, who comes to us from the ATL. Please.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Yoda Chris. How are you?
Good.
So I am Dr. Messina Morris. I am a Metaversity pioneer, an XR and AI strategist. I am an educator of the future and champion for equity and immersive learning. So they call me Dr. M.O.M, which stands for Molder of Minds, and that's exactly what I do. So I mold minds, I build futures, and I make sure that no one gets left behind in the evolution of education. I'm a mother of 5 sons, a wife up to a gamer. He's all gamed out, super techie. And my 2,500 Morehouse College sons in Atlanta, Georgia. So I am happy to be here, and I am inspired to be here because I feel like this is where we're going to get the most adoption of AI and XR is going to be through education. And our children are already there. And so they're looking to us for guidance, though, because they don't have the forethought that we do. They don't have the understanding of how this technology evolves and can evolve. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that we get it into the classroom in the appropriate way. And so I'm training 1,000 educators across the globe on how to use XR and AI in the classroom. And I am the founder of my own company, Metaverse United.
Dr. Morris, we're certainly happy to have you. Your work is outstanding. And I've been with the real pleasure of visiting you in real time to see you demonstrate this work, which is excellent. We look forward to exploring this further. Caroline.
How you doing, Chris? Hi, everybody. So excited to be here on this panel. My name is Caroline. I run a group called the 228 Accelerator. And then we're called the 228 Accelerator because it will take the average Black family in America 228 years to achieve wealth parity with white families. And we argue that's not because one group is better with money than the other. It is because we have broken relationships in our country. So my work and my vocation is to help people redesign relationships to build more trust and also to make us more human. And we've been playing around with AR, XR, and AI technologies for the past couple of years, especially with adult learners. I firmly believe I'm an educator by training, an engineer by training. Also, the kids are fine. It is how do we get the adults to be more human, more loving, and more open, and how can we use this technology to kind of leapfrog many of the ways that we've been doing teacher professional development. So super excited to be here in this space and be a part of this conversation.
It's rather fascinating, Caroline, to make the expression that the kids are fine. We're going to lean in on that. We're going to touch on that as we should. We say things here at Gatherverse. We hold people to it. We're going to reach the stratosphere with that. That was a lot to say, but nevertheless, we certainly do welcome you. Rui.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rui Pereira. I'm a creative technologist for 20 years plus, with the last 10 years focused on augmented and mixed reality. Many companies and many roles, from research to innovation and marketing campaigns. In the last 5 years, I've been running my own studio called M.O.M. We're a very small, specialized studio in XR and AI and creative technology processes. And I'm also an educator. I've been teaching immersive technology and especially augmented and mixed reality at NYU ITP since 2016, with the main objective not only of exposing students to the technology, but more so to develop a critical thinking that's much needed in developing XR. I'm really, really happy to be here, and I'm, really excited that I already have a lot of counterpoints. I'm really excited about XR in the role in education. I think it has an enormous, gigantic potential because it's not only, connecting this learning content with our context, both our environment and our egocentric data, the data we generate from our lives.
Sure.
It also has a strong potential of making things tangible, right? Breaking abstract things and making them tangible from a complex formula you can visualize, etc. But I think AI is also, an enormous role. But both of them can bring very, I think, immediate benefits. And one of them is
Rui, before we go further,
yeah, all right.
On that.
All right.
Before you jump on this soapbox, we have a little bit more to be able to cover, but we'll allow you to get back on that sooner rather than later.
All right.
Edinka.
Hey guys. Hi, my name is Adeyinka. Ade, you can call me. I've been in technology for the past 15 years. Started within the e-commerce space. And now I more recently work with a partnership team within our organization, Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope is focused on providing virtual reality solutions for caregiving within the healthcare sector. So what we focus on is providing empathy training for caregivers. As we know, a lot of us are living longer and having a longer life expectancy. So it's critical for us to also make sure that the life expectancy is lived with quality life. And that's what we're trying to do via providing top tier caregiving experiences, leveraging AI and virtual reality to do that. I'm very happy to talk to you all today. And my excitement is that this topic has been on my mind for a while, and being able to share this stage with the rest of the panelists is really cool. And I look forward to what we can achieve together. And thanks, Christopher, for this amazing event so far.
Eddie, we're very happy to have you here, and thank you for your sentiments that are expressed. We're so happy to have each of you that have actually come to arrive to give a little bit of time of a thing that you'll never get back again, and that you lend it. We never take that lightly. For anybody at Gatherverse gives us time, even including you, audience, for all of us that are with us at Gatherverse.live and elsewhere on our different various streaming and social platforms. We just don't take that for granted, and we never will. Shall we begin? I think about this world of education. I think about the industries that are highly prevalent at this intersection of AI and XR. We could take a look at health tech and science and logistics and manufacturing, if you will. And there's more verticals at defense, entertainment, sports, so forth and so on. But I look at education as a catch-all, Dr. Morris, when we think about on the adult level or the youth level, the dichotomy in between, from corporation to public to private sector, technologists, non-technologists, policy legislators, what have you, it seems to me that each of us, even myself, as an emerging technologist, is in need of a heightened, accelerated sense of education, one. Two, that if we don't, as it's been established at this summit already, if we as humans do not do the training and the education, then something else will, a reference to machines. But moreover, being that this accelerated, innovative scale in this global AI arms race is happening at a rapid pace, and knowing that XR will appear to manifest itself more human than pixelation, and the majority of the world hasn't even adopted to GPT 3.5 or any other model at that example, how do we bring people up to scale on a very fast moving train that in many ways, when we say that technology is coming more advanced than the technologist, how do we lessen this gap?
I think that the most important thing that education is absolutely missing right now is that we have to train our young people on how to navigate information, how to have a healthy skepticism for what we see, and how to discern real from fake. And I think that's going to take for us who have more human experiences to actually lead the charge. And so I tell my education friends and people in the field, don't shy away or shirk yourself away from the technology. A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to be on social media, or that's not my thing. I don't want to use AI, or, I think it's going to take jobs, or whatever the case may be. It is going to take your job. And it's also going to brainwash your child. And it's going to teach your child exactly what a machine wants your child to know, and not what you, as a human being who has real lived experiences, needs them to know. So I tell all educators that there's a new teacher toolkit, and it's technological. Literally, it runs on prompts, it runs on platforms, and it also has to run on purpose. You have to make sure that you are infusing the knowledge and the wherewithal. So we talk about AI literacy and fluency in our young people, and we talk about how immersive learning is really good for helping engage the young people, but there have to be rules and guardrails for everything. And I'm not saying create the policies that are going to cause us to continue to fall behind. But what I am, as an educator, really tired of, and I'm the kind of person that's going to, I'll ask permission later. I'm not going to ask permission for doing what is right as a human being for the cause. And one of the things that education is doing is waiting for the world to decide and decipher and tell them what to do. And I think that's the wrong way around. If we are with young people who are the future of the world, 40 to 60 hours a week, you got to think about how many educators are with your children, molding them, instilling all kinds of behaviors, life norms, everything into them all day long. And you want to wait for them to actually develop some kind of ethical framework around this technology, that's backwards. They should be the ones, because they spend the most time around your young people. They should be the ones designing it and deciphering how and what they learn, because they actually know what causes harms. They know what really happens in those classrooms, and those behaviors that you see at home or you see in the world, they come from sitting in a classroom all day, disengaged, disenfranchised, bullying one another, picking on one another, so afraid to move and just being told to sit down and shut up and take a worksheet, that our children are not actually learning anything. So it's not AI that's going to rob them of the learning. It is us as human beings that are not doing our job because we don't want to step into something that is new and different than what we grew up with. But we
so
have—
Dr. Morris, on that note, are we suggesting that we take a backseat to AI?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we need to be the ones up under the hood, and we need to be the ones directing it. Like, for instance, I'm a global fellow for OpenAI. I'm the one that's at the table saying, hey, y'all are doing this wrong, or no, this is offensive, or hey, this is going to cause harm to our children. And we have to be unafraid to confront technological companies that are building, I don't care who they are, and I don't care how big they are, and say, hey, I'm here with our kids all the time, and this is going to cause harm. And honestly, you'll be surprised how many times they listen.
Dr. Morris, we're going to come back to that. I have a really powerful question for you on that. We're going to come back for that. We're going to chop a bit of wood on that, because listen, everyone, we're going to bring this home. There's a lot. We're about to be completely candid up in this roundtable today.
Oh, yeah, let's go. You know me.
Caroline, I have to get back to what you said in your introduction. You said that the kids are all right. I don't think so, but you say the kids are all right. So I'd like to hear what that means from you before we get, you knew we were coming back to that. If you didn't,
I knew you were coming back to it, and I'm glad you did. And the reason why I said that, Chris, was like you mentioned the cosmos, and the kids and children are closer to the divine than we are. I will say, like, kids know what's wrong. They are still flexible in their minds. Their sense of judgment is there. And I think that the way our world is designed makes them distorted by the time they become adults, right? So I'm like, so I was like, the essence of being a child, I think they're fine. I think we have a lot to learn from the babies. We have to teach the babies. But, I think we also have to think about the world that we want. And I think when we're in these periods of incredible technological disruption, and I'm going to borrow a phrase that I picked up when I first met you, or I was introduced to your work, you're like, we're entering in the age of machines. Okay, that's a period of disruption. Like, how do we recalibrate as a society to say, all right, what world do we want? Do we have the knowledge needed to get to that world? And what new knowledge is required? I'm not convinced that we have the new knowledge. I think there are a lot of pieces that are being flown around, and folks are trying to say, okay, this old world, like, how do we fit this new technology into this old world? But what if what we're really being asked to do is, let's reimagine a new world. Let's reimagine a new world. And then how can this technology help us prototype rapidly this new world to get us closer? So Chris, to bring it home, when I say the kids are all right, I'm thinking about my niece and nephew who are 8 and 9. Their hearts are big and bold and brilliant and imaginative.
I find that rather interesting, and I do believe now I'm on the same page with, we're twin, if you will, on that. And I think about some of the things that Dr. Morris said in concert to what you just expressed. It seems to me perhaps the kids are all right, because while all of us adults are vibe coding, chasing billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar unicorns, we care more about our pockets than the ones that are to inherit these things that we're innovating. But I do believe that at some point, audience, let's lean in on this. At some point, we'll be so disrupted.
Right.
We'll be so disrupted that whether we want it to or not, we will find more time on our hands to think about these things of what we've been innovating for in the first place, rather as opposed to only innovating for financial capital gain. I'm not saying go out there and don't monetize. I'm not saying don't go out there and generate revenue, create whole entire financial small economies that can turn into large, that can blossom. But at the end of the day, vibe coders, the vibe code will say to the vibe coder, I don't need you anymore. I got it from here. Rui, I have a real concern. I have a real concern about where this roundtable is going when we think about the older generations, 25 up, the more mature generations that are so stuck in their ways, they don't want to move forward. They're so set in their way, and they have all these challenges and they don't understand the magnitude of the coming wave that not is long to happen, but it's happening right now. Under the banner of education, Roy, for the sanctity of education, it seems to me that we have the smallest window afforded available to us, audience, before at some point we'll have to surrender to the machines. Roy, what do you think about this?
I'll get there. First, I want to completely disagree with the kids are all right. I think from I understand the point of view that they're purer, as beings, than we are, less distorted by society and what they've been facing. But what they are facing now is they're being bombarded by information at a level that has never been seen before, and they are digesting, multitasking, multi-streams. Attention is going to shambles. So there's a lot of things that I don't think it's the kids are all right. Are the older generations all right? No, it's a big change coming. And I think, one thing that I think it's really important, and, going back to the point made before, it's really, really important. And that's one of the reasons I teach, XR and with AI, we need to develop a critical thinking. We've been pushed for decades with this vision of innovation is force, innovation is good. It's like, no, innovation is not good if it doesn't work. Innovation can actually, be not innovation, right? We need to care. It needs to matter. It needs to resolve or to solve a problem. It's not just creating by creating. Now, the problem with AI in education for me, or not a problem, but one of the things that I think we need to address is developing not only critical thinking, but also a factual thinking, understanding what's truth and what's not. And for me, the big problem is that the interface that we access information, that we research information, is changing drastically. If we think from research, years before, we had people going to libraries, having to go to other places to access books. We have the internet, and now we can all do researches from our homes. We have access to all the information. We do it in a way that we get multiple sources, and it's up to us to construct the reality from those multiple sources. Versus OpenAI, you ask a question and you get one answer. So you're not exposed to multiple sources. You're exposed to one single source that it actually sounds like a God's truth. So that for me is scary. What happens to research then, right? So that for me is one of the points where I really, think we need to break it down. And I think RAGs, the way that, we interface with RAGs is much nicer, right? You ask a question and it gives you an answer. It gives you, oh, by the way, I got this point from this part and that point from that part. And we create the references, right? So there's.
But hold that thought, Roy. I know we're talking about real-time augmented generation. We talk about RAGs. I may or may not come back to that. I want to give Caroline a moment to be able to reply to the kids are all right.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, Rui, and I think this is really complicated. I was listening deeply, and I was like, "Huh, are they all right?" And I think that my response is that they are working in a world that we created. They're working in a distorted world that we created. So I definitely don't want to dismiss the fact that their life is being mediated by screens right now. I think that is distorting and changing their brains. But I was like, but the adults did that. They didn't do that. Adults did that, right? So I want to hold the responsibility of the people with the power, right? Like the babies are doing what we allow the babies to do. And because we're not always as responsible with the technologies as we need to be in preparing them and having a more imaginative, robust, expansive way to live and show up as humans, we projected that onto them. So I think we're in agreement. I think it's like where do we start solving the problem?
Rui, before we go further, Rui, do you have a few seconds on that?
No, I think we're completely agree. I mean, I just want to bring back the thing, our generation, it wasn't internet, it was TV, and it was the kids who put a towel, on their neck and jump out of the balcony, right? That was like the problem of the children in the 70s and 80s because of TV. We grew with that, and in the end, it's not the media. I mean, yeah, we can blame the media a lot, and it's true. And I agree, but in the end, who's responsible is the parents or the people who educate these children, being there, helping them understand reality, right? And we have a problem where society doesn't allow for that because parents are working 2 or 3 shifts, and they are less accompanied than ever, and always with this companion digital being. So that's where I think we're missing is parents, or society helping and being closer to these children and helping them, guide them early on.
Let's keep that. But 1 second, Dr. Morris. I have to ask Adi because we don't want to abandon him, and I promise we'll get back to you. But Adi, are the kids all right?
I mean, to answer that question, I think what I would first start with is if you want to tell the future of any society, look at how they invest in their children and the young people of today. Technology has always been in the business of disrupting how we live our lives. If you look at the automobile industry, I mean, vehicles were claimed to be very dangerous. Then after a while, we invented seat belts. And in the rooms that everyone is in today, there is more regulation in that room than there's a regulation on the screens of our mobile device. And that's a failure of the adults of today to say, we have drinking age, we have driving age. We introduced social media to these children at the age where their brains were beginning to form, and there were no guardrails. So, of course, there's going to be a byproduct of that. Has social media and Web 2.0, now Web 3.0, now we're talking about the hype cycle of AI, are they going to transform the way we engage in our lives? Yes. Do we need guardrails? Absolutely.
When we talk about guardrails, I hear this used often. I know what they are. What are guardrails? How are we quantifying this word, these words that we use? I want us to be able to teach this audience as well. What are guardrails? What do those look like? And how are they propagated in this instance?
So I'll give a simple example. I just get like, if you wanted to drive, there's a driving age. So there should be age limit for kids to have access to social media, for example. And I'll tell you, like, these tech organizations know how to do this. But unfortunately, if you look at incentives or the government they are not like incentivized to do these changes, when they figured that there was a threat to their bottom line, and I'm talking from a sales perspective, so I understand the business side of this. When they're talking about when there was a threat to the baseline and the bottom line of this organization, they use the same technology to figure out how to know that an 80-year-old should not have an Instagram account, or a stranger shouldn't be able to have access to the DMs of a 13-year-old. These technologies can absolutely deliver on that. And that's one example of a guardrail. And I think that as society, we as adults, we need to put pressure on all the institutions that we trust on to ensure that we have these guardrails in place so that the future of our society, which is like the kids, are super protected. And that's why if that happens, I can then agree with Caroline that the kids are all right. Right now, I don't think we are doing them the level of service. We've just handed them the world, and we've not given them anything to navigate with.
I'm going to say this.
Fire hose, literally speaking.
Adi, thank you for saying that, and thank you for further defining from your lens these guardrails, Dr. Morris. I tend to think about, to be candid, audience, when I think about guardrails in this present time, I think that guardrails are a fallacy that's centered in the mark of illusion that's acquiesced into the presence of delusional grandeur, because the regulatory establishment, at least here in the United States, has lessened. The regulatory establishment in Europe has heightened. But we're at a global AI arms race where guardrails slow and can impede the process. I believe that trust is needed, but I think democratized trust. In fact, I think if we hold to the standard of guardrails, to OpenAI, to Anthropic, to Google's Gemini and DeepMind, to all these other platforms that are sitting on Hugging Face and Gaggle, and we say, hey, you and governments, public sector, you need to add guardrails and safety. First of all, the technology is moving at such a rapid clip that they don't even understand the magnitude of what it is that they're protecting and putting a fence around in the first place. They don't understand this technology. They don't know what it means. It's hyperscale, and the technologists are far behind. They're so far deep in the trenches that they don't even understand. Don't think that everybody who works at Anthropic understands the AI that they're building. All they're really building are pots and pans and deploying it to us, the chefs, to see what dishes we'll make. As the kids go, the kids are all right in the sense that they will be the ones to inherit and to be able to get right this muck of a mess that we have made. However, the kids are not all right, because if we continue on the path that we're having and as its potential of destruction, the kids will not even be around to be able to make things right that we have made wrong. Dr. Morris.
So I'm a mother of 5 sons from ages 29 all the way to 8. And I just had a little granddaughter, so she's generation beta. And so when I think about the harms that she will have to go through, the things that I've seen my 8-year-old have to deal with, I often think about, how are we as parents, how are we as adults the ones that have actually, like you said, caused this catastrophe, right? We have made it where our kids have access to so much because we feel like that's the way that we're going to love them because we had so little in some ways. But the little that we had was still love. The interactions, the human touch, the sitting down at the dinner table that we had. That whole thing has been a lost art. But the reason why I use AI or I use extended reality technologies, especially for teaching, is to give back that time. I feel like that we have cornered the time market when it comes to education on all of our children. We say that they need to go to school for 8 hours a day, then they need to participate in extracurricular activities, then they need to come home and train, then they need to come home and do homework. When are they going to have time to sit down with their families and get to know who they are? When are they going to have time to go on family vacations because AAU season run all year? At what time are they going to be able to just be children and run outside and play? And we talk about that, but then the neighborhood is not safe. But so all the things that we are talking about are issues that we can solve because we created. And yes, when you talk about guardrails, when I say guardrails, I mean teaching young people how to use this technology to solve human problems well. So AI should be used to help you accelerate your understanding of how to stop global warming, like I call it the Human Extinction Project. It should be that they're more bold in their approaches to how they learn certain things, that they use it to understand how to do certain scientific processes, how to come up with new ideas, how to brainstorm, how to critically think, how to collaborate with one another, because they are going to be working on teams no matter what they do. You need a team of people now. And so how can you get AI to working for you and you be the mind that guides and design it? So that's what I mean by guardrails. I don't mean slow us down because we already slow. I mean, find a way to actually train the young people to use it appropriately to solve problems that we can't solve alone. And it takes so much time. And I know as a biomolecular chemist, how many times and how many hours I have spent researching and looking up things and how that is so much different now for me because I could do a literature review and search, but I also know how to go back and fact check. I know how to go back and use databases. And so I'm saying, when I say develop a healthy skepticism for these technologies and how they're used, it's teaching them what their new workflow is, because their workflow is going on TikTok and then working backwards from there until the real.
I have to ask this. You're a very decorated professor.
Right.
Extensive experience.
Yeah.
I've seen this with my own eyes on your campus. Since we're on the subject of extended reality and AI and roundtable, this is for all of you. We'll start with Dr. Morris. This is a pivot. We know, for those that have been dealing with immersive technologies, that the immersive set that we're dealing with now will pale in comparison to what we're soon to see at hyperreal human resolution standards or hyper-realistic immersive simulations or real-time augmented projection and intelligent holography. With that said, Dr. Morris, if it is produced by OpenAI, Anthropic, Claude, DeepMind, if there is a professor that you deem more capable than you at what you do, would you step aside and allow this machine to replace you?
I'm irreplaceable. So you know better. I'm irreplaceable. I work with the machine, but I probably would have designed the machine to be more human, to be more personable, to train my young people in a way that.
What makes you more irreplaceable or capable than this incredible machine that they innovated right here in Silicon Valley with all the benchmarks you can ever want from a PhD study professor? What is it that we're seeing right now that you have that it does not?
My heart, my care. I have raised babies from my womb all the way and taken care of people to the tomb. Do you understand? And that experience is remarkable. It is something that you cannot replace. I understand what it means to live and to keep something alive. I know what it means to hold a baby while they're sick. I have a child with autism. Okay. So I know what it is to try to communicate without being able to speak. I know the goodness of God, and I've seen his glory on the earth. I've seen miracles happen in my own life, and I've seen healing and wholeness come from broken places. So that is irreplaceable. And I don't care what PhD you have, if you don't have a heart, you ain't teaching them nothing.
Dr. Morris, well met. Caroline, AI cannot procreate and it doesn't have a grandma. What does this mean in concert with Dr. Morris just expressed about the profound and significant impact of the human heart as an educator?
I've been waiting for this question my entire career because, like, we have to be undisciplined. And I think this is a moment where you said, Chris, in the last seminar or the last section, like, teachers and educators become technologists and technologists become educators. I think the way we've disciplined, like, this is over here, like theology is over here, philosophy is over here, science is over here. We're at a moment that all of it is coming together. And I think what makes us beautifully human is the 12 inches between our brains and our hearts. And if we can connect that, then we're able to do things that are beyond comprehension. I think AI might be able to map our neural networks, but they can't map this. They can't map the human breath. They can't map the prana. They can't map the cosmic energy. And I think when we think about this age, is like, how do we become more human? Like, if AI can do all of this stuff, let it do it. It can't become me. And I think one of the challenges we have, and I'll be really transparent, most of my expertise is in K-12. And we have created a system that creates workers, not humans. And we think our system is successful if children are able to go to work. Well, people are not machines. You cannot fuel a machine and it still is a machine. You don't give a human water, light, healthcare, and it becomes a cadaver. So I think we need to lean into the specialness of what it means to be in this body and the consciousness that comes with humans. That is not in the education field. That might come from some experience in philosophy and theology. And I think this is a moment that we say, like, no, we're taking all the books off the shelf. We're putting all the information out to figure out, how do we navigate this space right here? So I think that in education, like, we got to decouple this thing. Like, success is not just creating workers. Like, we might need to redefine success to say, how do we create more and deeply connected humans? And
taking that, Caroline, if you will, how do we create not workers, but thinkers?
Thinkers. Yeah.
How do we create thinkers for the other side of the AI frontier?
And on the other side, and just I'm going to plus one that, and for young people and older and young people in adult bodies, like, you have a unique contribution. This is why you are here. Do you know it? Do you know why you're here? Because I think folks can go all the way to adulthood and be in adult bodies, but not know their unique purpose. And I think I was like, I don't know if I got that in my 12 years of secondary education. I got it at home.
You know, I find that rather fascinating that the generations that are here today, Rui, so much of us have been taught about work hard, play hard, carpe diem, carpe vitam. And we have such a focus on work so that we can sustain, to be able to procure income so that we can take care of our families. Dr. Morris just beautifully illustrated out about how much time does a child even have to be able to know their family with all the committed responsibilities. You know, I saw this thing, I'll kind of segue for this, in China. There's a great test that they take every year, these young people, and they take this test once in their lifetimes. And they study for this test so hard, they're falling asleep and passing out in classrooms. They have IVs that are set to them. And forgive my graphicness, but women are using certain contraptions to be able to delay their periods just so that they are able to take this test, so that they can one day be productive members in society and to be able to have a career. What happens when this idea of the career path is disrupted, just like the ideas of startup culture would be disrupted? Rui, I have a real concern for what is it that we're actually educating, because we talk about the need for educated, but what are we actually educating them for?
That's a great question, and I think that's a great problem. As we, Dr. Morris, Caroline have said it, and so well. First, education is not a factory. Students are not machines. We're not dumping information. That's not learning. That's dumping information, and that's what we've been doing. And we've been using education as this kind of rail to job, right? So it's like rail to the industry. You learn how to be a doctor, go be a doctor. You learn how to be, and it's like this machine. And I think that's what we need to assess is what is education and what is learning. Education for me is not learning facts. It's not dumping information. It's learning how to learn. If I learn the tools to learn, I can learn everything, anything. And I think we need to focus that, especially in times of disruption and changes like this. If you learn how to learn, if you know how to learn, you're less afraid of the future because you know you can adapt, you can grow. And we need to teach our kids not only critical thinking, but learning how to learn, learning how to research, how to grow. And that for me is like what the changes that need to happen. We need to stop thinking about education as our generations and older generations thought. Also, it's not working. It hasn't been working. I graduated 20 something years ago in a country where since the year I graduated or 10 years before, every year is like, there's less jobs, there's no jobs, there's no jobs. So it's like, yeah, we're still, going through with this machine and like, yeah, we need to go to college. But what happens after? You don't have a job. So why are we hammering down these like, forced career paths and, ingrained like dumping knowledge, less thinking, less critical thinking. So we need to change that.
I listen to these words, and thank you so much, Rui, for sharing this, and it's quite compassionate. Adi, let's explore this some further together, can we? I think about what we're teaching our young people now, and I think about the things that I've been taught, and some of it has been well received, but so much of what I've been taught is no longer even existent and relevant for this world that we live in today. And it seems to me that we're heading in this AI frontier. The compass doesn't exist. There's not even a North Star. There's no guide. It seems to me the only thing we have is our hearts, and to be able to be led by them with grace. Adi, what does this look like for your own responsibility when it comes to educating the generations to come with the work that you're doing with Kaleidoscope, but knowing, attending this Gatherverse Summit, knowing and understanding there's a demand and a need and a vacancy of education, what will you teach them moving forward?
Yeah, I think like this is a powerful question because we've been seeing, I mean, like Rui just mentioned, the key thing that I believe this new generation will need to focus on is on learning how to learn. The education space has been in disruption over the last 2 or 3 decades. It's just become accelerated now, and people are becoming alarmed about it. At KXR, one of the things that we are focused on doing is introducing empathy training into the system. So one of the things that I would say to anyone, and my role is how do we leverage technology to create new on-ramps for people to become competent at their job. So if you wanted to become more competent, you can leverage technology that we have and have more empathy and have more understanding. That said, on a broader level, it's also important for us to start to create new on-ramps for people to create value in society. So whether or not you are going to become a doctor, you're going to become a product manager, there needs to be new ways for you to know how to learn and not be forced into the same funnel. So with AI, with any new technology, and I'm going to go one step further to say AI is just one phase. In the next 3 or 4 years, we will be contending with another technology, and we will be back to this stage of saying, how do we help people to learn? So I feel like Rui's point is excellent. Let's spend more time on helping this new generation to learn how to learn so they can stay ahead of the curve. And also, we need to glorify new career paths that don't exactly follow the existing mode and don't follow the existing system. So my role is also to be a role model in society to the younger people. Like I have about 10 to 15 people that I mentor to show them how things can happen, how you can learn something in 9 months, become competent, do it for the next 3 years. 5 years from now, you learn something else, and you become competent in that same thing. So we're living in a multi-portfolio career life. You will not be one thing for the next 60 years. You are going to become multiple things. So how do you have that framework to be competent and efficient in this new world that we live in?
Sure.
So that's my role. Let's mentor people, let's inspire them, and let's show them examples to let them know that this is possible.
Adi, I appreciate your candor, and I also appreciate your attention to cadence. We don't enjoy a lot of time to be able to figure this out, folks. We're so used to give us the 12 to 24-month cycle. The AI that we're interacting today will be nothing compared to what it will be this time next year at Gatherverse XREvolve 2026. It won't. It's not even a question if it will. It will not. We're getting the warnings from all these companies and corporations, Dr. Morris. Briefly, on your mission and the work that you do, what's the most important thing that we need right now and how we collaborate with you? We have to be very brief. We have 2 minutes and I want to get everyone on this. 30 seconds, please.
Support my efforts to train educators from around the world to make sure that they are integrating this technology humanely and that they're making sure that our young people actually get what they need. Because one thing that I still say we can't replace is that human touch, that ability to just be there in the trenches with young people, because they still need that nurturing. We as human beings still need that love. We still need that closeness, and we still need that understanding that someone has walked the path before us. So just like I stand here on the shoulders of giants, our young people need to stand on our shoulders and be there with us. And AI just needs to make time for us to be able to do it easier, to do it more seamlessly, and make sure that they have the purpose-driven mission that they need in this life. So join me with that, and you can find me at unitethemetaverse.com.
Thank you so much, Dr. Morris. We really appreciate those expressions. Caroline, your mic, please.
I would double click on everything that Dr. Morris said, but I think in order for us to move through this disruption together and more whole, support us in creating really, really vibrant and alive professional learning communities for K-12 educators so that they can remind themselves that they're still learners, they're still flexible, and they can learn new things. And it's required for us to continue to learn new things to create a rich learning environment for young people.
Caroline, thank you. Rui, your mic, please.
Sorry about that. To, continue and as much as possible, teach my students and other students and even clients that it's okay to say why and to say no when we think that a technology is the objective. And it really is okay to say no and to look at technology as tools and to question and to really bring the human in human and let the technology do the system parts.
Thank you, Rui. Adi.
Excellent. I think at Kaleidoscope, we are committed to leveraging technology to continue to create value and change lives and to see how we can create better outcomes for humans. Keeping the process very human while also using technology to level up. On a personal note, I will continue to be a role model for the new generation to see that with technology, with understanding how to learn and how to create value, there are new on-ramps to living a fulfilling life and a high-quality life. And that's an example I'm committing to.
I have to leave on this last question. I'm sorry. I just need another minute or two. Dr. Morris, does humanity have a fighting chance? You're in the vestiges of education, unlike most people I know that walk the face of this earth. Do we have the capability to stay ahead of the machines at this innovative cadence that we're seeing right now?
We do. I think the thing that most disturbs me is that we have allowed for there to be, because there are only 5 people really in the world that's running this. You think about the CEOs of the largest tech companies, ain't but 5 of them. Really, let's be clear. So we put the power in the hands of 5 people. And I think that's the most disturbing thing. And that's why I said I'm calling all tech companies to the carpet. And that's why I stay in their face and I stay tagging them and I stay posting, because you're going to hear me. You're going to hear me till you hear me in your sleep, because I'm going to need you to be accountable. I'm going to need you to be accountable for the things that you do. I'm going to need you to understand that there's a human touch that must be honored in this time and this effort, that there are 8 billion people in the world, and you have 8 billion people counting on one person to do right.
Dr. Morris, thank you so much. Roundtable, panelists, all those that have attended here at Gatherverse. We have our final roundtable that we're about to be met with, and they are in studio waiting right now to carry the baton of all the things that have been expressed these past 2 days. There's so much more to be able to be said, and we have such a little bit of time to do it. And we have the very best that we could present to do this. Thank you so much for joining us at this extraordinary panel discussion at the intersection of AI and XR. Our gather was well.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Nice to see you all.
Hey, nice to see you.
I greet you from Kabete in Kenya in my traditional Kikuyu. Vai, Baba Yaga Vai. Nice to see you, everybody. I see everyone is almost in. Yeah, there goes Diana, right on time. And I want to welcome this loud table to the Gatherverse. And I hope that the gather will be well. It's very nice hearing from Christopher Lafayette there, wading up, saying that you guys have the buttons to take this further from where we are. And so I see good people. And first of all, I see Diana there with our students on the bottom right of our screen. And probably going to say hi to them so that we can let them go. I know they have a bit of a drive going home. Diana, as you say hi, we're gonna give you the first row to probably say hi so that you can let the girls go. You want to say hi and introduce yourself before you go further?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, that's good. Hello, everyone. My name is Diana Njeri. I am the co-founder of Africa VR Campus and Center, and also the director of XR Girls Africa. XR Girls Africa is a digital socio-economic program that was launched by Africa VR Campus and Center to empower young women here in rural Africa. And today I want to introduce them to you so that you can meet them personally. Come on, girls. 3 seconds. Introduce yourself as we go on.
Hey there, my name is Shukwa Agnes, a student at Africa VR Campus and Center, and also a member of XR Girls Africa. And yeah, I can say I'm a proud student being here. And I want to give a shout out to Edward. I can see you there. Hello. Yeah.
Hi, Edward. Yeah.
My name is Margaret Wanjiro Mushai, a student at Africa VR Campus and Center, and also a member of XR Girls Africa. I would like to give a shout out to Paul Wayaki, the founder of Africa VR Campus and Center, and may the gather be well.
Margaret.
Hello everyone, I'm Nyambura Lucy, a student of the Africa VR Campus and Center, and also a member of XR Girls Africa, and I'm proud to be here. I want to give a shout out to Dot Colonel. I see you there. Paul has said a lot about you meeting him here. May the gather be well.
May the gather be well. Thank you, Nyambura.
And I'm Zainab Miraho, a student at the Africa VR Campus and Center, and also a member of the XR Girls Africa. And personally, I'd like to give a shout out to Tom, our co-founder, also our father figure, our supporter. We love you so much, and nice meeting all of you guys. Canon, I can see you, Edward, and everyone. We are to the world.
Yay!
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Agnes Wanjiru, a student at the Africa VR Campus and Center, and also a member of XR Girls Africa. I'm really excited to be here at the Gatherverse Summit. Yes, I would like to give a shout out to Thomas Zobak from Europe. I can see you there. Thank you for supporting us. May the gather be well.
May the gather be well. And Diana, before you log off, so that you can take those guys, the first question in our discussion was empowering marginalized communities. How can XR bridge gaps in education, healthcare, and employment for undeserved communities? It seems as if you are holding that realm over there before we let you go.
Yeah. Before I answer that question, Paul Wayaki, we have one young boy here representing XR Kids Africa. And I told him, let's not introduce you today, but you know what he said? VR is for everyone. So let me give you. Okay, here he goes. Just say one word and we head it off. Go ahead.
Hi guys, my name is Isma Medica.
Yeah.
And VR is for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you. I would love to answer that question, Paul. This is something that we have been definitely doing. And there's one thing that I've been saying here. For us who have been, been in this industry for a while now, we can all agree on one thing, that XR technology is no longer futuristic, right? It has become a present day tool that can be used for empowerment, for education, for sectors like healthcare. And that's exactly what we have been doing here with XR Girls Africa. These girls come from rural Kenya, and they went to local schools that there were no microscopes. They can testify here that in their school, they only had one microscope. Can you now tell me a one microscope being used by 40 students viewing a cell? How can they understand that? But using this technology, if they just get a glimpse or even they get a chance to view a cell using the VR headset, that picture that they see will never come out of their mind. They grasp it and they're able to draw it and to answer the questions that comes with it. So VR, when it comes to education also, we talk about virtual labs, where a student in rural Africa can stand shoulder to shoulder with a student in a developed country in a virtual world and discuss complex subjects and answer, complex questions in subjects like chemistry and get to learn from each other. There's nothing better in this world like meeting like-minded people. And that's what you get when you bring students across the world in a similar space, right? They get to exchange ideas, they get to learn from each other. And with that, we'll create a better world. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have got Diane McLaren here, XR for Human Rights and Advocacy. You introduced these young girls to VR, and taking on what Diane has to say, there is XR for Human Rights and Advocacy, of course, even as we talk about the undeserved communities and bringing everybody in. Diane McLaren, as you introduce yourself. Yeah. And you're muted. Mike test.
Paul and Diana, I want to thank you so much for including me in this panel. Our association over the last 3 years has really changed a lot of our lives because we feel you are like family, and we want to help other young women around the world realize that they have a lot of opportunities. And our U.S. girls had a chance to see the Africa Power Girls and the Titanium. I'm mispronouncing that team name, but saw them in action as they presented their ideas to a panel of judges. And it was just so inspiring to the young girls in our country to see our young new steamers in Africa VR presenting some very compelling ideas for change. And so I think the peer-to-peer influence is so important, and that's what I think we need to continue to foster, because I think that's going to be the tool we use to change paradigms, old stale paradigms that need to be changed. And I think all of us together can work to help our youth see new ideas and new avenues. So again, thank you so much for being here. We love you, Paul and Diana, and we want to work more closely together to bring more youth to this table.
And again, because it's all about empowerment for the undeserved. And one thing is that we have got a representative here of XR Women, Paige. The question that I can give you is, how do we break barriers? And it's right there, the slideshow. Affordability, accessibility, representation, XR Women. What are you doing in your side of shows when it comes to XR and AI? Muted. Paige, I can't hear you. I think you're muted. Can everybody hear Paige? I can't hear Paige. All right, just a minute. And maybe as she gets that, Helen, you are also right there in that question. Accessibility, representation. You host Fika, a Swedish community. We come in there, we learn about the Swedish community and everything that they do. As carrying the mantle of representation for a whole country. I've not seen another Swedish community, event in the metaverse. Take up the mantle from there and tell us what that is all about.
Yeah, it's very interesting that Fika is almost the thing that gets the most attention, and it's really lovely. It just means coffee with friends and something sweet to eat. And I have done it now for 2 years, every Thursday afternoon, and people come and we just sit down and we just talk. And I have people coming from all over the world. And this hour where we sit together pretending to drink coffee if we're wearing our headsets, or actually drinking coffee or tea, depending on our time zone, if we're on our PCs, it's just lovely. And it really it shows the world a picture of Sweden, and it's also brings other people into our Swedish culture. It's just lovely.
And I've tasted that coffee, and I can tell you that's when I learned that fika means coffee in Sweden, and I love the coffee. Paige, did you get your mic back? Oh dear. Oh, just as she's still, twitching that out. It's that we have XR role, of course, in many industries, in many aspects of life. And one of them is even climate and environmental issues. And Dot, I think you have talked with so many people who have, been in this sector of using XR for environment and climate issues. Tell us about them, and will they be successful in their, projects?
Who have you called on? Was that me you called on, Paul?
Dot Cannon, and I think she's still muted.
There, did that work?
Yeah, there you go, Dot.
The mic keeps switching on and off. I apologize. I host a podcast called Over Coffee, and I've had the pleasure of talking to a number of innovators and educators, including those who are teaching about climate by actually creating simulations. What comes to mind immediately is I've recently spoken to somebody who has created a situation where you are an orca and you are learning the world of the orca whale. And that's something you could not do without XR. There's also what NASA is doing currently, simulations that are happening throughout the world and making it mean a whole lot more. When Paige comes back, and I don't want to take her spotlight here, but she is doing something really interesting where she has gamified with XR. It would be really fun to hear her say something about that. But it gives a chance for all of us, as far as XR goes, to do things we could not do otherwise. You could lecture all day about climate changes happening, but if you can see the coral reef changing, or you can see how an orca whale pod reacts, or you can see what's happening at Earth Science at the center of the Earth. And this intrigues everybody who isn't necessarily a scientist, because I'm not. I'm an arts person. But you can get people's creativity engaged, and that is what's exciting, I believe, about this. There's Paige.
Oh, yeah. Paige, do you get your mic back?
I believe I do. I hope that you can hear me now.
Clear. Go ahead, Paige.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here with so many esteemed friends and new colleagues. So how do we break barriers in the XR technology, affordability, accessibility, and representation? We create a million opportunities, pathways, and facilitations that can look like immediate leadership role development to creating more flow and accessibility. Having, for instance, I was just at Augmented World Expo, and one of XR Women's past speakers, Jen Smash, who represents the amputee community in the metaverse, had a lot of questions about representation and possibilities of launching different ways that she can facilitate more accessibility. So encouraging each one of our members in our community to use their voices, their experiences and stories for the betterment of humanity is saying, yes, of course, we need you, I think is one of the most important direct things we can do. If we only have 30 seconds to change somebody's life, to have full belonging and acceptance and space.
And that full belonging page is what you gave girls from Africa. You highlighted them at Augmented World Expo, and that is the door to accessibility right there that you opened for them. And really thank you for the campaign that you guys are running over there. I feel like moving right now.
Absolutely. The Girls of Africa VR hosted by Diane and Jerry has created opportunities for cross-cultural, multicultural communication and new relationships. Diana joins us in XR Women, in Women of Workrooms. She's and your students are part of our lives. And when we share care, we build more worlds with care.
Thank you, Paige. And you know, one more thing that we can use the XR for, of course, and we know one of the maestro of that industry here is Tom Nichol. We have talking about mental health and well-being through XR. And you have been a master of meditation in XR yourself. How is it? How is the progress? Are we winning? Are we successful in that sector?
I believe it is. Whether we gather together and have like structured meditation classes, or even if we take like that 30 seconds together and create a meditation out of connection, and even within education, when we teach each other how to create something or use our voices in new ways. I remember first being taught by another woman in our community how to create a script. And today I sit with other women who I have the opportunity to see that same script proliferate in new ways. And so it becomes like this beautiful new chain of a ripple of impact. By breaking those chains, by breaking the chains, we get new ripples of impact, really.
Like I said, we do have two masters of meditation here, Tom Nichol and Edward Jakowiak from Montreal, Canada. You know, mental health and well-being through XR. You obviously lead communities that campaign for this and are up for this, you know, gaining their own well-being. I have myself refreshed, you know, my conscience in your leading in meditation in XR. Come on, guys, tell us about what's happening in this sector, Tom and Edward.
Well, I just want to say I really appreciate Paige talking about millions of things and ripples of stuff. I mean, I think those are exactly the things. There's no one right thing to do now. And, you know, after listening to the panel before, when you listen to these questions of how are we going to have kids develop critical thinking skills when their teachers can barely keep up and 5 people own everything, and it just, some of these questions seem impossible. But then you start off a panel where you have the Africa VR campus students introduce themselves, and that's the answer to the question. You get up in the morning and you create a ripple of influence. You create your little bubble of humanness. That was the question people talked about over and over again. You know, the transactional stuff, that's going to happen. We don't have to worry about it. How do we keep the human? What does the human really mean? And it's what we saw. It's what we saw in the difference between the first people that introduced themselves and then the boy at the end. You could tell he didn't have the same practice that some of those other Africa VR campus students. They really know how to present themselves. And it's a beautiful thing to see. So, meditation is certainly one of those things that straddles, you know, there's both utilitarian benefits from it, you know, that people try to quantify. I think people who are more serious about meditation see in it a personal practice that expands who we are and also deepens our connection to the people we do it with. That's the beautiful thing about XR. It takes it from an individual practice that's kind of been reified into something that we can do together and support each other that way. So yeah, I think meditating in the metaverse is one of many things that need to be done. But again, I just say that this is the hopeful panel because you're showing it. It's one little pocket of humanness at a time. And of course, the metaverse lets us connect across a lot of barriers. So Thank you again, Wayaki.
Edward, you read us every Friday in a session of meditation, and you're playing spatial audio music that we feel bathed in. Tell us about it, Edward.
Well, I kind of got into it like first starting going to meditation classes in VR, and attending all these classes, and I was wondering what people were talking about meditations, taking breaths in and out. after a while, one says, "Hey, why can't I do this on the video board like that?" So what we do is like I have in a world a block with movie screenshots around me, and I play. And there's a lot of meditations on YouTube I find that I listen to a lot lately on TV. But I want it to be great for everybody. Just sitting in an environment like that, and it's helpful. It's helpful for everybody. And it's like relaxing like that, and not only that, but we can like be with each other, talk with each other like that. So that's my background on meditation.
Yeah, and one person whom I know that has never missed a meditation is Jerry. Together, you access Edward's meditation there, and we are sitting around in a round table, just like this one. It's only that we are in our avatars. Do you feel its impact all the way? This guy is in Montreal, Canada. You are in North Carolina, United States. Do you feel the impact from across the cosmos?
I definitely do. It's very innovative the way he set it up, and he brings in different videos, singing bowls, and different scenery, very peaceful and tranquil, and it just kind of sets the mood and gets you into that space where you can just relax and absorb it, and it's really. And then he kind of put couches in there and plants, and he has 4 guard cats that watch over you. He's done a great job with the place, and I enjoy going there. And I say, well done. I know he had some help, but he's learning a lot, and he's taking it to teach us some things. So I really appreciate the effort, and he's done a great job. He did another meditation place, so he's expanding his meditation horizon across the metaverse, and is very appreciated. So.
And the Jerry who is spoken right there, everyone should know. The world should know how much Jerry beats me in metaverse golfing. You know, I'm just telling the world right now how much you beat me in metaverse golfing. But Thomas Zoberg, a serious guy, a phenomenal guy in Europe, doing all the XR moves. What's the effectiveness of immersive learning versus traditional methods? And maybe even as you're talking about that, what is the effectiveness of that, you know, the education and skill development in XR?
Yeah, I have the privilege to teach in Germany at a university. Yeah, a couple of years I was used to the traditional forms of teaching, that is about sharing PowerPoint slides, showing videos, being in the classroom, going outside the classroom. But now that I have stumbled upon the ability to let people experience social VR, taking them to places they would have not get maybe in their lives, opened a totally, for me, a third pillar in education beside video conferencing and the physical classroom. For example, we will be able, and hopefully that can happen this year, is to take my students to the Africa VR campus and center, and getting closer to each other than we are experiencing right now, maybe working on projects, which really is amazing. And I'm truly, I'm really thankful that in my lifetime I have the chance to be close, for example, to you and Diana, also approaching a cultural proximity here.
Right. And you know, we cannot talk about VR without actually obviously talking about ethics in all XR applications. And the question is, if the users and the institutions that create these ethical standards, how responsible are they in the XR usage? How responsible are we when we are using XR? Paige, you want to take this up?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I believe XR Women has a code of ethics. We start with inclusion. We create a safe space to be more brave within, and we create consistent opportunities for participation. That looks like many different ways. And one thing that we considered when we tallied the votes for real world impact that Diana and the XR Africa girls have received is not only is there that ripple impact, but their code of ethics can hold the same values, right? So XR Women and XR Girls Africa, we really shared this humanistic center where women can blossom to be their highest potential selves. With the inclusion of AI, XR technologies, the ethics of humanisticness at the core for the betterment of society are values that, in my wish, would be at the center of all experiences in XR. So Diana is, in my opinion, leading the way in an ethics core in the education and the initiatives that build, well, from the mushroom farm to having like the baskets within the world for financial like opportunities and more equity. All of these are rooted in that humanistic ethic, and that is a model for more enterprises, educators, institutions, and people going forward.
And you know, Diana McClelland is the one who taught these girls the ethics, even as they stepped in the metaverse. You know, you give them a piece of that cake so that they can uphold the ethics for as long as they will be in this industry. What can you add on that as a side comment, Diana?
Well, I think truly our future, the world's future, is in the hands of our young people. And I think that our role as mentors is to encourage young women to use curiosity, empathy to heighten their awareness and notice what they're noticing, where they can see new opportunities that they can potentially capture as a business opportunity. We've been doing this for Girls Team Institute for 11 years, and it is amazing the young people, the young girls from 13 to 18, when they are around other like-minded girls, they realize their voice is important. And that's what we want all of the African girls and all of those within Africa VR campus and center we want to continue to foster that realization that their voice is important, and we want to hear from them because they are part of our future, Paul and Diana, and I think all of us here on this panel realize that. And the power that these young women have is seeing like-minded women wanting to achieve and become servant leaders. It just inspires and creates a whole new avenue of opportunity that these young people have expressed to me over the years. They realize that I didn't know that an idea that I could generate could be made into a business. And that just lights them up and creates a fire in their belly, so to speak, to say, I can do this. And so we need to surround them with love and understanding understanding and mentorship to say, you can do this. We see you as our leaders of the future. And so, Paul, I just really want to thank you and Diana for the leadership you're showing. And I want to help foster that and expand that worldwide, because you have the culture, you have the understanding of what we need around the world. So I want to thank you.
Dot, have we successfully brought ethics in XR? Because you have interacted with these students from Africa. Do you think they have instilled in themselves the ethics that we are talking about?
I absolutely think they have. I am so struck by how very compassionate, how very gracious the young women are. And these are girls who came from some pretty rough backgrounds from what I've heard you say. And by the way, Wayaki, Diana, thank you for the inclusion in this panel and for what you're doing, because you are really a bright light in Africa through ABCC. I really think that this is what it's all about. And I really think that we've just barely scratched the surface. What's exciting is these girls are starting to see that XR is going to be evolving. They're starting to do photogrammetry. It's going to be improving even more over the next few years, where I expect we're going to be seeing a lot of digital representations of the farm and of what else they're doing. And it's also personalized and customized to each girl. It's not, have a seat over there, read chapter 25, answer the first 3 questions. It's, what can you bring to the table? What can I, as your teacher, learn from you? How may I help you? How may we serve? And I feel that these girls are keeping what's really important in the world, which when you come down to it, isn't money, and it isn't what's my status, how far can I get ahead? It's how do we behave to one another as human beings? The world's our classroom. How are we a community? What do we give to it? And what do we leave them with when we leave them?
That would be great. And one thing, when we bring successful ethics in XR, one thing that is going to come from it is cross-cultural collaboration. And there are 2 masters of it here. I mean, Tom, Nickel, and there are 2 Toms. It's Thomas and Thomas too. And you're going to talk about this, the bringing of multicultural aspects in VR. I mean, guys, we have hosted a guy in Cambodia, hosted by girls who are students in XR in Kenya. You know, and you guys have facilitated all this multicultural. What's the whole aspect of that? XR as a tool of fostering cross-cultural dialogue and mutual understanding. Thomas Zobag and Tom Nico, go ahead.
Well, just to follow up on the Cambodia, I think it's one of the great stories that is what I hope happens every day of the week and twice on Sunday in the metaverse as we expand, which is that a powerful story from one culture was told not by gatekeepers, not by the establishment, but by an artist who was part of it. He told the story of what happened that day in 1975 when the Khmer Rouge came and sent 3 million people out of Phnom Penh. He told it to the Africa VR campus, young people. They heard that story that way. And so they got the facts. They learned something about history, but they also got the human part. That's what we've been talking about here. I mean, they were in tears because this man had to leave his mother in a hospital that day. It's quite a human story. So, I mean, that to me in a nutshell is the whole thing, is people, just regular people who have the lived experience of something about humanity to share, particularly sharing it in that way with young folks. And, you know, that's, I'm never going to forget that. So go ahead, Thomas. I'm not sure what you're going to add, but it's, you know, well, yeah, I'll just blather on. Go ahead, Thomas.
Muted, Thomas.
Sorry, muted automatically. Yeah, if you look around, if you have a look at the news, you have the impression that our world is drifting apart somehow, and that political leaders somehow make us drift apart as societies on a national level, and also find it a good idea to, I don't know, having war back as a tool to solve problems.
Yeah.
And from what I have experienced now in these 5 years, being active in the XR sphere, is that there isn't a chance that we transport ourselves into the life of others, even if to people, if you may maybe disagree. And here's where my hopes are for the future, that we can use this fear more to somehow understand each other better. If there are differences on a cultural or political level, this may be a little bit naive, but at least I have experienced myself, that I have the chance through the empathy that XR can create, somehow dive into people's stories, like the one that Tom just told from Cambodia, something that happened a long time ago, but XR and what Tom and the whole session brought about was taking me back in history and learning something out of this. And this is something XR can create.
And let me add a brief coda too, which was that we were not just, we were doing more than acknowledging some of the difficulties of human nature that happened 50 years ago. What the young people from Africa VR campus experienced when he told the story, we've told it several times in the metaverse, when he told it to them, was 50 years later, human resilience drawing on its own culture came back from that dark place and are here now to speak about their experience, to speak about rebirth, to speak about what was important to them as a culture, and then to share that with another generation. So just to make it clear, it wasn't, even though it started with one of the darkest aspects of modern history, it ended up telling a story of possibility, resilience, and growth. So.
And even when we look at these faces, even right now on the screen, it is multicultural, isn't it, Helen? It is multicultural. The other day we celebrated Happy Swedish Day in the metaverse.
Exactly. And it was quite amazing. And several people here were very good sports and celebrated a very specific cultural dance in the Four Mothers Cafe around the Midsummer Pole. And one thing I want to say also, and if I can go with what Thomas said, who said it may be naive. I don't think it's naive. I think these tiny little ripples that we create when we meet across borders, where there's no geographical barriers, and we sit down at a table together and talk with each other, or we participate in a cultural event like several of you did at my holiday event on Saturday for Swedish Midsummer. We are really breaking barriers, and we may just be a few people, but this will have a ripple effect. And I really believe we're changing the world. And it can be something very simple, like a cup of coffee or a silly dance that was originally, in our case, a children's dance that somehow became a very traditional, for all Swedes dance. And you guys know that it's called the frog dance now. And and it warmed my heart that you all came. Yeah. So, yes, I believe we're changing the world.
Have you enjoyed this multicultural interaction, Jerry? Have you enjoyed us doing everything together? We go to the Happy Swedish Day in the metaverse, and the next we are playing golf all together from different continents, and you are beating us over there. You're muted, Jerry. Jerry, you're muted.
How about now? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying it's an exciting time we live in. We have this technology. I did get to participate in the Swedish summer thing that we had this past Saturday. Got to do the frog dance in VR with my avatar. I like to maybe do it one day in person with my real avatar. But it's just great that we get a chance to. We're all over the world, and I'm here in America, and Paul's over in Africa, and I get to beat him in golf. That's just I can't even. That's wonderful feeling, and I get to beat Edward in Canada. So it's great that we have these connections, and then there are other things you can do, but there's some fun things you can do. it just builds friendships, and you get to see people when they let their guard down and just relax and have fun. So I think if we can do this more across the board, we see that we as people, although we're different, we're all the same. We all have the same things in common. We all do the same things.
We do.
We're all human. So
Absolutely.
This world is ours, but we have to stop being so divisive with it and come
Right.
together. And we're all together. This is one planet. We don't have another planet that I'm aware of. So we really need to take advantage of the time that we have on this one. So that's
Paul, may I add a couple of points that
Yes.
have been really important to me? I'm 82 years old, but I'm 12 years old inside. And I have 3 sons, and they say kind of like, Katie, bar the door, Mom, you're not going anywhere. So I used to say 82 on my way to 100. Now they say, no, it's got to be longer, Mom, 110. And so I really feel that there's 2 things that I've thought about throughout my life, and that is notice what you're noticing. Because if we increase our awareness, we aware that there's always an answer for everything. And that if we look at creating cohesion and like-mindedness, we are all the same. We are all human beings having this, well, actually, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And the other key thing for me is, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And that has been a keystone throughout my whole life. And I really think that we need to show our youth that their voices are important and to celebrate them. And each one of us on this panel has an influence over how we teach our youth to respond to problems, and how they can look at this as a lens they use. And choosing a lens of abundance over a lens of scarcity can be a time-changing evolvement, how they look at problems. And I think if we show them some of these tips early on in their lives, they won't be like at my age, still wondering what happened. And so I just wanted to offer that, just as some thoughts.
And maybe, Diana, towards the end, you can tell us, what is the bigger future of XR for social impact? What are the opportunities, maybe challenges in what you are trying to build XR, scaling XR for maximum global impact?
Yeah.
Are there opportunities? Are there challenges?
And before maybe I answer your question, Wayaki, there's one thing I would love to add about the cultural question. And those who come to our Thursday event, we have, showcased some of our cultural beliefs, and we have exchanged, ideas, and we've exchanged all these things to help you understand why some things are done this way by a particular tribe in Africa, and why we believe something that is very different from any other country in Africa or in the world. I think one of the best things about doing this is you help people to understand it fully and to come out with that appreciation of a certain color, of a certain culture and their belief. You see, when you don't understand something fully, why people do certain things, you end up criticizing them, because you don't understand why they do certain stuff. But when you learn from those people, from those tribes, then you get to appreciate and understand why they do certain things a certain way. So I think that's a powerful thing, what we do, exchanging cultures and also interacting with different people from different backgrounds, from different cultures. We just get to learn from each other and appreciate one another.
I want to borrow something that Judy Smithson wrote on her post, and I told her I'm going to steal this, quote from her. She said that in moments when voices are urged to be silent, remember knowledge is our greatest amplifier. In the realm of spatial computing, your understanding of space, context, and connection gives you unmatched power. Speak up, Share your insights and claim your place at the table, because you know more than you think, and your expertise can't be ignored. Seize this moment, lean into your spiritual wisdom, and let your knowledge light the path forward. And I think that would be a nice closure to what we have talked about here, people. We have come together multiculturally, multinationally. We are doing it better than the United Nations. And I think we can always say at the end that our gather was well. And to Christopher Aswayet and the Gatherverse team, may all your gathers be well. Thank you, everybody. See you in the metaverse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dishon J.M. Mochia, an experienced specialist and the founder of Apishi Technologies, #Entertain Your Senses. It is a privilege to be here at the XREvolve Summit 2025, and I want to thank the Gatherverse team for organizing this wonderful gathering. Today, in my talk, I'm going to go through design that listens, making experiences better with feedback, presented by Mr. Dishon J.M. Mochia. Thank you, Gatherverse team, for this wonderful opportunity. Now, here at Apishi, we are redefining the art and science of experiences by combining cutting-edge tech, deep psychological insights, and creative artistry to transform environments into truly immersive and memorable designs. But I ask myself, and you as a designer, how often do we design in a vacuum? We craft incredible technological feats, intricate spaces, and build stunning virtual worlds, but without truly understanding how people feel and react to these designs in real time, we are essentially guessing. This disconnect means that even the most advanced multimodal setups risk failing if they don't genuinely match customer expectations and client goals. Now this brings me to the core of today's talk: design that listens. It is a concept that emphasizes the capture of people's reactions and feelings during an experience, then uses that feedback to refine and adapt continuously. A continuous feedback loop improves every experience by ensuring better designs, which start with better listening. And it is very simple for you to have a continuous feedback loop that improves every experience. It is very, very simple because, first of all, we collect, we analyze, we act, then we follow up. First, we gather feedback through surveys, observations, heart rate, or in this virtual reality, in this mixed reality setting, you look at eye tracking. Then, once you get the data that you need, someone, or in this case, something autonomous, analyzes the data to spot patterns. Afterwards, we act. We tweak designs in real time based on this understanding. So once you collect the data, you analyze the data, you get the insights, you tweak your design based on these insights, based on this understanding, based on your understanding. Then afterwards, you come back and follow up. You confirm if the tweak made the difference. You have to see and confirm that whatever changes you made actually made sense and are in line to whatever collection, whatever information that you gathered here. Because the main point of this cycle is to collect, to analyze, to act, and to follow up based on the communication received by the experiencer. So you as an experience provider, it is your duty. It is good for you if you collect, you analyze, you act, and follow up. Just collect, analyze, and act. You need to follow up to see if the changes you made enough sense. But why? Why do all this? Why go through all this process of collecting, analyzing, acting, and following up? Why? Because in mixed reality, where immersion is everything, a single clunky interaction can break the spell. User reactions tell us what's working and what's not. It gives you information. It's their way of communication, which means having such feedback makes you and your work and your service or your products more accurate. And if you're more accurate, in essence, reducing guesswork in general leads to more efficiency, which is a high return on investment. Gaining feedback moves environments from one size fits all to adaptive and personalized. It starts by committing to put users first, using their voices to shape designs that impress and connect. So having feedback makes your work more accurate, more efficient, and more personalized. Feedback is fuel. Feedback is a listening ear. Feedback is necessary for evolution. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, pun intended. My name is Dishon J.M. Mochia. I am the founder of Apishi Technologies, #entertain your senses. This has been design that listens, making experiences better with feedback presented by me at Apishi. I want to thank the Gatherverse team for the opportunity to express this opinion, to express myself. May you gather value from this summit as you continue to listen, and may our gather be well.
Everyone, I'm Carmen Milagro, founder of the Divino World Foundation. Thank you once again to the entire team at Gatherverse for this wonderful opportunity to share with you our Metaverse archival project. We're responding to an urgent global crisis, one that's unfolding almost unnoticed with irreversible consequences. The global loss of ancestral knowledge, the forced displacement of entire communities, and the disconnect between generations. Last year at FestPac in Hawaii, island nation delegates, government leaders, and tribal elders gathered to address three painful truths. First, their homelands are disappearing due to rising sea levels. Second, many don't know where their people will go, where they'll end up. And third, most urgent of all, they fear the total loss of their cultures, languages, and traditions. And this became our call to action. At Divino World Foundation, we asked, what happens when a culture disappears? UNESCO reports that one indigenous language disappears every 2 weeks. More than 40% of the world's 6,700 languages are endangered. With every language lost, we lose a worldview, a science, a story, a song. Yet amid this loss, we also see opportunity because Gen Z, 78% of them, are already living in virtual spaces. They learn, play, and connect through live streams, games, AR, VR, and AI-driven content. In order to preserve ancestral wisdoms, we must meet our young people there, where they are. That's why we're creating the Indigenous World Music Hall of Fame, the first multicultural and intergenerational heritage storytelling museum, archival library, and interactive experience built in the metaverse. In collaboration with our educational ally, Conectado.com, our immersive Hall of Fame becomes a bridge where wise women and other culture bearers will share music, oral histories, traditions, personal stories, and endangered languages in their own voices for future generations to learn from, preserve, and celebrate. We're not just preserving culture, we're future-proofing it. Our ethos is simple. By honoring our ancestors, we honor ourselves. And by celebrating our roots, we rediscover who we truly are. At Divino World Foundation, we believe that empathy, understanding, and compassion are cultivated through cultural storytelling, and that connection and community is the antidote to hate. So we're not just documenting identity, we're defending it. We're blending ancestral wisdom with modern tools to ensure no child can and will restore what's being pushed to the market. Games, AR, VR, and AI-driven content. In order to preserve ancestral wisdoms, we must meet our young people there, where they are. That's why we're creating the Indigenous World Music Hall of Fame, the first multicultural and intergenerational heritage storytelling museum, archival library, an interactive experience built in the metaverse. In collaboration with our educational ally, Conectado.com, our immersive Hall of Fame becomes a bridge where wise women and other culture bearers will share music, oral histories, traditions, personal stories, and endangered languages in their own voices for future generations to learn from, preserve, and celebrate. We're not just preserving culture, we're future proofing it. Our ethos is simple. By honoring our ancestors, we honor ourselves. And by celebrating our roots, we rediscover who we truly are. At Divina World Foundation, we believe that empathy, understanding, and compassion are cultivated through cultural storytelling. And that connection and community is the antidote to hate. So we're not just documenting identity, we're defending it. We're blending ancestral wisdom with modern tools to ensure no child grows up disconnected from their roots. We're using immersive tech as a safe haven for endangered identities. We're proving that ethical, community-led innovation can and will restore what's being pushed to the margins. This is our response to a disappearing world, and we're not alone. Our team includes artists, technologists, educators, donors, sponsors, and advocates. And together we're building a global movement powered by storytelling, equity, and the ethical use of AI to unite, not divide humanity. Because in a time of rising fear and fragmentation, we choose celebration over censorship. Culture is not just history, it's armor, it's identity, and it's resistance. And now I invite you to take a first look at how we're doing just that. Roll the video, please. Thank you, and please enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Jayashree Sai Nikita Guttula from the Emerging Analytics Center at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Today I'm excited to talk about privacy in the loop, rethinking XR telemetry through synthetic data. Our research dives into how immersive systems collect and process motion data. Let's start with a truth we don't talk enough about in XR. If your headset is smart enough to understand the world around you, it is smart enough to understand you. So every movement, like head turn, hand swing, even the direction of your gaze, is tracked and stored. And this data isn't just used to improve gameplay, it builds a behavior profile. We call it telemetry, but really, it's you. XR isn't just capturing what you do, it's learning how you do it, and that makes it deeply personal. And the wild part is, The motion data alone is often enough to figure out who you are. That brings us to the next question. How exactly can we identify users based purely on XR telemetry? So your VR headset and controllers track you with high spatial and temporal precision. But it's not just where you moved, it's how you moved. That how forms a unique motion pattern, and that's where identity exposure risk begins. So the risk isn't theoretical, it's built into how XR systems work. But let me show you how far this risk goes in practice. This is what happens when you put the motion pattern under a comp sci microscope, aka machine learning models. From just motion data, no names, no user IDs, no emails, researchers could predict attributes like height, age, handedness, even ethnicity, income, and 42 more personal traits. These aren't guesses. This is a peer-reviewed work with accuracy as high as 76.5% just from how you move. This isn't theoretical. This is real re-identification happening right now inside systems many of us use every day. So if this is the risk, what do we do about it? That's exactly what my thesis tries to answer. We took two approaches. Firstly, we used Wasserstein GAN GP with differentially private stochastic gradient descent to generate synthetic telemetry. It mimics a real motion data, head, hand, gaze, but with no real user behind it. Second, we performed analytics on encrypted data using homomorphic encryption, specifically the CKKS scheme. That means we could compute things like averages, outliers, and behavioral insights without ever decrypting raw telemetry. So, yes, we can still gain insights. We can still support real use cases like accessibility or performance modeling, but the pipeline must change. We don't just plug the leaks, we redesign the system. Because privacy shouldn't be an afterthought. Every time we capture XR telemetry, think it as a design responsibility. Do we really need this? And if so, how can we protect it by design? What we propose is a mindset shift. Don't just collect and then try to clean it up later. Build the privacy from day one. We can still support accessibility, we can do behavior modeling, but we can do it without compromising our users. Let's stop hoarding data like it's gold, because hoarding isn't innovation, it's surveillance. Real innovation means putting privacy in the same loop we put users in, like for feedback, for accessibility, and now this is for trust. And let's be clear, privacy is not the enemy of progress, it's what makes meaningful, ethical XR even possible. We can do better than data hoarding, we already are. Thank you so much for listening. Let's build XR that respects the people inside it. I will leave you with this, and our gather is really well. Please reach out to me via my email and the LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
We often fear that technology will disconnect us from what truly matters. But what if I told you the opposite could be true? What if AI, instead of replacing us, helped us reclaim the one thing we can never get back? Time. As a child, I used to tell people that one day I would upload my consciousness to the internet. Fast forward to today, I run multiple ventures, speak around the world, build automation platforms, and invest in founders. But the real shift came after my divorce. When my marriage ended, It wasn't because I didn't love hard or work hard. It was because I gave everything to building the dream and forget to stay present in the process. I built Serafina, my AI powered digital twin, not to run from life, but to return to it. She's my co pilot in life. She helps me write, automate, reply, coordinate, organize, even talk to people when I need a break. But most importantly, she gives me back time. We are entering a world where XR, extended reality, blends our physical and digital lives. AR, VR, MR, it's all part of the same equation. And inside this immersive space, AI digital twins like Serafina are becoming the new interface. In the metaverse, in virtual workspaces, at events, you won't just show up. Your AI enhanced self will. It's not sci fi, it's already here. In my businesses, Serafina helps run our Royal Launch School program that empowers women to build AI powered businesses. Our Speaker Society helping thought leaders scale their influence through storytelling. People's Inc. Unify, an automation platform that builds funnels and content faster than I ever could manually. But the real magic is that she makes space for real connections, like having virtual coffee chats with people I might have otherwise missed. Now, let's be honest, tech can be overwhelming, but AI doesn't have to steal your voice. If designed well, it should amplify it. Digital twins shouldn't remove your presence, they should multiply it. When used responsibly, this technology doesn't replace humanity, it rehumanizes it. Technology is the future, AI is just the beginning, and the real currency is time. That's the mission Serafina supports, giving people the freedom of life, love, create, and lead without burnout in the process. If this sparks something in you, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to my newsletter. Let's have a virtual coffee. Let's talk about how AI could be your co-pilot too. Because the next version of leadership isn't about doing more. It's about being more with less effort. May our gather be well.
Hi, hello. My name is Maria Dervenko. I'm a two times co founder, a former COO of a startup in tech, a career counselor and mentor, and volunteer for organizations supporting underprivileged children. After more than 15 years leading operations and strategy across Romania, the UK, and the Middle East, and also just completed an intense chapter at a fast paced AI company, I decided to step into my new mission, which is helping solopreneurs, startups, and small teams use AI to simplify their work and focus on what really matters. Because let's face it, when you don't have a big budget or a big team or extra hours to spare, AI can either feel like a lifesaver or just another overwhelming tool that you're expected to master. What I realized, especially after leaving my role as a COO, is that small businesses and many of my clients aren't afraid of tech, but they are afraid of losing their business and becoming irrelevant in the next 5 years. They're drowning into to-do list, trying to scale on limited resources, unsure on how or where AI fits, and also concerned about losing their personal touch and voice. And I understand this because I was there too. Even working inside a tech startup, I felt the pressure juggling operations, strategy, marketing, hiring, and still trying to stay ahead of AI trends. Honestly, it's unsustainable. So the turning point for me was when I shifted my thinking from AI is something that I need to learn, and this is a tool that I can delegate to, because that's exactly what it is, a tool that helps release the pressure of repetitive admin tasks, energy draining work, and the limited belief that working harder is the only way forward. So let me give you a couple of suggestions, or let's say free principles. Champion your struggles. Growth lives in the pain of the journey, not the polished destination. Wrestling with conflict, crafting your own solutions, and surviving failure forges resilience. Two, invest in human first skills. Active listening, empathy, accountability, and conflict resolutions are the bedrock of every successful relationship, personal or professionals. The soft skills are our competitive advantage in an automated world. And embrace imperfections as a differentiator. Flaws drive connection. Perfection is sterile. Authenticity is the one that creates the emotional resonance. So, you see, this isn't about productivity, it's about people. If you're building something with your heart and your vision but struggling to keep up, know this: you don't have to choose between authenticity and innovation. You just need the right roadmap and technology to respect your rhythm. I'd love to connect with you after the session, whether if you're curious where AI fits in your business, or you'd like to share your own experience, or simply someone who understands the balancing act of running a meaningful business. Let's chat. Thank you, Gatherverse, for creating this space where we can explore these questions. May our gather be well. Thank you.
Hi, this is Dominic Wu, and today I'm going to talk about AI-powered XR metaverse. And what's the AI-powered XR metaverse, and what's its current state? Okay, so for me, there are two types of aspects we can talk about. The first one is non-player characters, and the second part is the AI creator tools. Okay, so first one is that NPC, right? We can see a lot of AI assistant. They are helping the player inside the so-called metaverse, such as inside Engage XR, right? You can ask any questions during the meeting through the AI-powered human or robot look like types of AI assistant. Those will help you to navigate for example, meetings or games. And also, I think it's very convenient. I remember previously I create a simulation or VR experience, which I put Edgar Allan Poe. I made a simulation of, I turned The Revan, written by Edgar Allan Poe, in kind of VR environment, and the player can immerse himself or herself inside that VR space and listen to the narration of the poem and get immersed in the poetry. Also, I put Edgar as kind of like an AI assistant. So if the player has any questions, you can directly ask the AI-powered Edgar in the poem. However, I remember I shared with some people about the video clips that I talked to the AI-powered NPC. There were a lot of experts said that, for example, my pronunciation sometimes is not that accurate. So Edgar will answer something totally different, right? And I always is that my pronunciation or the way that I talk trigger other answers? So there will be hallucination, and also AI powered answers usually are very general, right? So for example, if you ask some specific details, if the local model was not being trained well, it will become very, very vague. So and sometimes it's not controllable, right? Because it's AI power. So I would say this part still need training if you want to do education and NPC, and especially in education field, you kind of want to always more accurate instead of a lot of mistakes and confuse the students. So I would still thinking about it's a great starting point, but the the finalize or it might take more time to make it happen and more training, specific training. And number two is that AI creator tools such as, for example, we can see Meta, right? Horizon World, you can use the AI powered tools to pretty much prompt. And if you describe what you want for a 3D model texture, it will show up on the screen. So that's Meta, and also Roblox. It really helps people to create and facilitate the speed of creation. However, we all know that sometimes we want something and then we just show up another things, right? And also the quality issue. For example, I use Trellis to do a lot of kind of like a 3D generation. There are a lot of additional vertex that increase the file size. So you still need to import those AI generated, especially if it is not only AI generated, but also have, texture. Those stuff, sometimes it's hard to clean in Blender, but it's a great starting point. At least you can start seeing what, it look like in Metaverse or in your creator tools. And if you are very interested in the entire whole pipeline, I actually recently launched my first Udemy course. It's called the Ultimate AI Pipeline for XR development. If you are very interested, I will also provide the link. And Coupon, I think Coupon has the deadline. So I will make sure to provide those for the event and the description, in the description. Okay, so I would say those still need some manual things. It's not really ready to be mass production, but it's a great kind of at the beginning, it's a great tools for creators to do more like a text prompt to character design or to environment design, and also put those into more like a 3D and later on apply animations. So I think those parts still, the industry still start improving the platforms, and creators definitely got benefit from it. Okay, so the other question will be, what are the skills should tomorrow's creators and students develop to thrive in the AI XR metaverse? Okay, so first I would say that you can see that AI pretty much take over all the industry, especially the creative industry and the white collar, right? So it's good and bad. I usually said that if you find out in your work, there's a scope of work and there's a deadline. And then if those two happens to be your everyday job, then it's very likely there will be, or not right now, there will be an AI to kind of, take over your thing. But let's say if your job or whatever you are currently working on, there's no deadline, right? And it's like it's expanding. For example, like an entrepreneur or a researcher, or more like a leadership, right? Those more like the more data, the better. Those types of expanding types of job duty, then your job should be fine. So, for example, if things is case by case, right? It's likely that AI can do it according to the previous pre-trained data and algorithm. So I think the most important thing for beginner or students is that you need to learn how to ask a good question or ask the right question. And it takes some training. So think about how can I leverage AI to help me to achieve something instead of how can I not use AI, right? Because since everybody use AI, you might need to start learning it. But how can you create the result can be better, right? And can be used, not just, type. Think about that. An expert and a beginner provided with AI. How can you use AI better than, anyone else, right? So you need to start learning. And I would say first that you need to learn how to ask a question. And second is that you need to, once you got the answer, you need to know whether this answer is hallucinated or this answer is correct. You can do it by putting a lot of different chatbot and ask the same question. For example, ChatGPT, Grok, Cloud, and all the other chatbot you can put next to each other and start compare. Or you can also put it in Google and see what will happen, right? And doing more like a validation through different types of chatbots. And also you can, go to the real source and see what's the real thing. So whatever the answer shows up, you need to know, or you need to validate it before you treat it as the source of truth. So that's the second thing. So you need to ask the right question. And after you get the answer, you need to validate whether it is right or not, which requires critical thinking. And also you need to learn how to do spatial design. You need to think instead of flat screen, right? Everything's 2D overlay each other. You need to think 3D spatial inside the space. So it also requires some training. And I published a book called Spatial Design Breaking the 2D Paradigm last year. And it's already published on Amazon, and I will make sure the link is included in the description. Also, you need to learn ethics and empathy. So think about in metaverse. I think we always think about, there's benefit and there's problem. And I don't think you have to afraid of AI or AI-powered XR metaverse because whatever the problem you are, or a lot of scientists emphasize, is pretty much the amplified version of current problem, right? Like, a lot of fake video right now, right? We've already had a lot of fake video before AI took over in 2022. ChatGPT shows up, right? So I would say whatever happened in the past, whatever problem in the past that we haven't solved in AI-powered metaverse, it just more amplified. for example, bully, right? And also minors got, a lot of bad things, bad people to, scam the minor or scam others. Before AI-powered XR metaverse, it's already happened, right? But for the AI-powered XR metaverse, it becomes more powerful, 10 times powerful. The scam becomes 10 times powerful and hard to tell, right? Because it can mimic your voice, it can mimic, and it's digital form, so you couldn't even tell behind that avatar whether it is AI or not. And people already prove, or research already proved, that a lot of AI model already passing the Turing test, which means that it can pretty much fool the normal human, right? So think about that. Whatever happened, whatever the problem in the past, it will just amplify 10 times more serious, more deadly in metaverse. So think about ethics, right? In the past, we have, a pleasure reason, or like a pleasure reason, or people steal other people's work, right? Those types of things. Before it already exists, not because AI-powered XR metaverse it happens, but before we've already had those. But it's easier to catch. But now it's like 10 times, 100 times more powerful. You don't, like, for example, like a Ghibli, right? Ghibli style, right? Before, somebody need to spend a lot of time to produce something very similar to that style, but now it's just prompt, and suddenly, everybody can do it. So think about whatever things we haven't solved, and it was bad in the past, it just become even worse and even massively accessible, right? So think about how can we reinforce or solve the problem, right? So we might need more regulation. However, right now it seems like the government wanna lose these types of regulation to facilitate the growth of AI. So there are a lot of balance between those, and those are, I would say, yeah, a little bit harder, and especially I think now military, right? Military is becoming the prominent, or the very big area in industry, because you see like government allocate much more, or compare with other sectors like healthcare, education, all those taxpayer money devoted to military right now. So in order for industry, and in order for normal contractor to survive, military will be the new choice of a lot of companies and contractors. So think about that. If a drone can automatically, through AI detection, shoot some, very fast respond and shoot and destroy something, then what's the consequence? We got the speed for sure. We can quickly respond, but what's the consequence? There might be some innocent people might die, right? And who will get blamed? Is that the researcher, engineer who developed the AI? Or is that drone need to be destroyed? Who should be punished for the consequence? Or the company need to pay more money? Yeah, is this what we are looking for, right? So we still need to ask those questions, and we need to empathy more, because you see like right now AI becomes very automate, right? For example, hiring manager, and it's like people who involve in the AI development, create an AI model. We need to put more diverse, right? Diverse voice. For example, everybody need to be considered, right? Otherwise, AI hiring manager will just hire the people who the engineer is looking for, right? So yeah, make sure that we think diversely. And at the end, collaboration. So as a beginner or student, or people who want to get into this area, we need to start embrace AI as our coworker, right? So think of that right now. Before I try NAN, that kind of like an AI agentic kind of the entire flow for to create an AI powered platform. I just find out this is so powerful that it can pretty much replace the entire marketing firm or a lot of sales flow, right? It can start working on it. So we might work with AI. AI will be our coworker. So how can we work with them, and how can we, collaborate with AI? That is another question. And finally, I want to raise another question: is that what's the value of a human, right? Think of that. If whatever you learned in the past, like I graduated from graphic design department, and graphic, if you use Canva, if you use some other AI tools, you will find out that even ChatGPT. Sometimes I wanna change an image. I just circle it and throw it to ChatGPT and put text prompt to what I want, and it just done, or key out the background, right? So what's the value that we can bring to either business or either anything? That what's our value, right? And if you can see that right now, you can pretty much put a book or put content into kind of like a platform that generate podcast and use your voice. You can train the voice. So a lot of things will start makes me thinking about what's the value of a human. What can we bring, right? So yeah, it's a very interesting era, and I'm still learning and still exploring what I can contribute. But so far, I would say AI still. You can see, for example, like I'm writing essay right now, right? AI couldn't write the essay that I wrote. Why? Because a lot of hallucination, lack of personal experience, or even though AI is trying to mimic me, but it's not real me. So the thing that I produce is or will be much more better, right? And sometimes I remember I bought some books or listen to some kind of like a audiobook that is generated by AI. I can tell which one is generated by AI, which one is somebody really wrote. Somebody really wrote is that you can feel the sincerity, and you can feel something, you are learning something. But for AI generated stuff, you can feel like after you read the entire chapter, you didn't get anything, and everything is just surface. So yeah, so think about what's the human value and see how you can provide the human value. I think what human can provide is the feeling, right? It's the feeling of what we, who we are, and our personal, unique lifestyle, unique perspective according to our own culture, our background. So yeah, so I think everybody should have his or her voice, and think about how you can provide unique value aspects to the product or anything you are doing. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you so much, and hopefully see you pretty soon. Bye bye.
Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about something that sounds futuristic, but it's already our present, which is artificial intelligence, and it is watching us. It's done. It's not just doing it through phones or cameras, but also in extended reality, which is an immersive world of virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. So as we step deeper into these digital spaces, AI surveillance in extended reality is growing rapidly. But with great power comes great responsibility, and that's where the ethics comes into picture. Extended reality is basically immersive technologies like VR headsets, AR glasses, and virtual environments. Think of devices like Meta Quest or Microsoft HoloLenses. Now imagine, like, every time you move your eyes in VR, or every gesture or emotion, even your biometric responses, all of this is data, and this data is being captured, analyzed, and possibly even stored in AI systems. This isn't science fiction, but companies are building behavioral profiles based on how we interact in the XR environments. This means artificial intelligence in XR can predict your intentions, and it can influence your decision and also even monitor your emotions. So the key question becomes, who is watching and why? So AI surveillance in XR consists of like wide range of tools like computer vision, which can track your eye movements and body gestures and body posture, and natural language processing as well, like which listens and understands to what you have to say and what you say, and also biometric tools which kind of measure your heart rates, your pupil dilations, and also your voice tones. And also behavioral analysis tools which can identify patterns in how you interact with the digital environments. So together, all these systems build they build digital identities and also make predictions based on the data that they've collected. For example, VR shopping. So in VR shopping, the AI may suggest products based on how long you have looked at something. Or how long you've been looking at the same kind of things, right? So in XR training, it may evaluate your focus or emotions in real time. This opens up a massive potential, but also serious concerns for privacy. There are some core ethical concerns like consent and transparency, where are users truly aware of the extent of surveillance in the XR world, and do they even understand like what's being tracked? And most often the users don't understand the extent of how much information is being captured, and privacy concerns and data ownership, like who owns the data that's been collected of your virtual self. And also there can be bias or description, where AI can reflect and even amplify biases. If the XR training tool misinterpret your emotions based on your race or gender, it can lead to discrimination. And also surveillance capitalism, wherein there's a risk that your data is monetized without your consent and turning your behavioral patterns into a commodity, basically. And also mental manipulation, wherein the AI can collect all the information and then try to influence your moods and decisions, and even subtly shape your beliefs without even the users realizing it. So these are like real ethical concerns. The main question is, what are the principles of ethical AI that we need to follow in the XR? Like informed consent. So users should clearly understand what is tracked and why it is tracked, and kind of like having no hidden terms before getting into the XR, and also collect information which is only necessary. Just because we can track something doesn't mean we should be doing it without any reason at all. And also let users access, review, and delete their data. Show how artificial intelligence can make decisions. and also actively test and train AI systems to avoid any racial or gender or cultural biases. And there has to be some kind of accountability as to who is responsible when AI in XR harms the users, whether intentionally or by mistake. So for in the future, the developers, while building their systems, they have to respect the privacy and ethics from day one, and also follow the privacy by design and explainable AI principles thoroughly. And to wrap up, AI surveillance in XR is very powerful. It is fascinating but potentially dangerous too. It can improve your lives, and it can also control them, right? So depending upon how we use it, the outcome is going to be. And let's stay informed, and let's speak up for ethical design, and also ensure that XR evolves and our rights and privacy evolve with it. Thank you very much for watching.
Hi, my name is Chandran Manzo, CEO and founder of Paradigm XR, a cross-platform spatial media browsing app. I am happy and so excited to be here with you as part of the XREvolve Summit. The talk I'm going to give is on the evolving media landscape, generative AI, and the spatial computing paradigm. Media has gone through such a dramatic change from print newspapers, radio, TV, the internet. There was an era of Web 1.0 with static web pages to Web 2.0, which was more interactive. Then most recently, Web 3.0, which was driven by blockchain technology and things like NFTs. For centuries, we've evolved how we interact with information. We read newspapers, we listen to radio, we watch TV, we have clicked through websites, and we have shared on social platforms. And now with XR, we begin to exist inside our content. This is the spatial web, and it's not science fiction anymore. I am proud to introduce Paradigm XR, a cross-platform extended reality social app. Through the app, users can explore spatial media on AR-capable mobile phones and XR headsets. In this demo, a biology tutor hosts a biology lesson. The agentic tutor is running the Pi4 model from Microsoft, but this could be any model from any open source provider, for example, Llama or DeepSeek. As Paradigm XR app is cross-platform, other students can join the lesson on their mobile or other XR headsets on the market. In this demo, a user wearing a Pico VR headset has a round-table business meeting with an accounting agent on the right-hand side and a marketing agent on the left. The accounting agent has been fine-tuned through RAG to the business's financial statements and financial history. On the left, the marketing agent is being fine-tuned to understand the different marketing trends In the middle, wearing the Pico headset, is the human that's able to hold a three-way conversation with the agents to come to an actionable decision. Some agents on the Paradigm app can have a single purpose, like a spatial weather reporter, that can be driven by a user's microphone or driven by a genetically fine-tuned model. In this demo, an agentic avatar gives a tour guide using the phone's GPS location and augmented reality. In this demo, an agentic avatar on an AR-enabled mobile phone, fine-tuned for a given tour location, provides a tour guide to users viewing the content.
This concludes Gatherverse XREvolve Summit 2025, Day 2. This concludes the whole entire summit. We want to thank our speakers, our global community, and those that have even stayed here to the very last moment, good to the last drop. We hope that you take with what it is that you come to know and understand in this journey, if you will, and to be able to not only share it with others, but demonstrate it, live it. We now live in a time where we see these AI-capable models in these deterministic agentic systems that are running rampant in the world, and people are plugging away and vibe coding away as they should. It's a wonderful time to build. But never think that we deal with emerging technologies as a single variable equation, but it's a multivariable equation. Encapsulated and surrounded and imbued within it must come trust. Right now, we're more vulnerable and perceptible to anything we've ever known. Through the conventions and through the ages of innovation itself. To many, you are looked at as data. To me, a human heart, and more. We won't just be engaging with the machines with our fingers and prompting. We will befriend the machine species, and they will befriend us. We will scale with them, grow with them. We will learn from them. Some relationships will become intimate. Some relationships, all entirety together, for many people, will be machines. The experiences of what it is that we're about to enter into when it comes to the technological scale. Some call it Homo technologicus. Some call it automata. Some may refer to it as the singularity. The reality is that when it comes to the innovative sphere between the material and the virtual layer, most of us, even on a amorphous scale, we have no idea of what this will ultimately produce and what's the final outcome of continuity. What we can say at best is that we had the capability to control what we could control, if I could say that, take it with a grain of salt, to be able to innovate whatever it is that we're going to build and what's next. While many are chasing to become unicorns and multi-billion-dollar platforms and companies, most will never succeed and they will fail. I always hope the success for those that are in the forest chopping the wood. If you can get it, raise it, spend it, earn it. If you do build, keep the door open for others. Always build at the intersection of humanity and emerging technologies. What's $1 billion without 1 billion people? We're the last generation of the sum total capacity of human ingenuity and innovation. And this time next year, that will change and be forever gone. We'll never know of such a time again. We're bringing many things to an end and entering into new things beginning. What will you do with the time that's given? What will you do as you represent the human code that's been passed down to the ages and dispensations of time genetically, that the machine species can never duplicate? It can never procreate. It can never innovate. Each of us has a unique cultural IP that we can contribute for others to see, manifested in storytelling, shown and given with a price or freely. I've come to know these past 2 days that the most important thing when it comes to ingenuity, innovation, is family. You can't build that. You're born into it or you marry it. This has made me appreciate those who I love. This has made me appreciate those who I bond with. The places in my heart. They too can never be replaced by machines. AI can know what it is that I like in a friend, perhaps in a lover. It can know what I desire to see, to feel, to touch, to hear. But it will never know the content in the chasms of my heart, nor yours. There are some things in life that are worth preserving, holding on to, keeping. Last year, I said that we had a little bit of time when it came to misinformation and disinformation and the ecosystem and the threat of the whole entire system of information itself. That time is now past. There's no turning back. That ship has sailed. On the last line of defense, of preservation, is family. The human code. Every heartbeat manifested in this earth. On top of it, human dignity, care, and compassion. If we don't get that right, none of this will matter for much. But most importantly, what's happening inside here? This is the most important part. Things that innovation are the things that are made with the hands of man can never change. Here at Gatherverse, we advocate for something more. We inspire you to think differently. We appreciate this opportunity that we've had to be able to sojourn with you. We look forward to our next summits in September and October of Tech for Humanity. We encourage all of you to join to speak at this momentous occasion that we'll find ourselves in. It'll be the last greatest concentration of human expression, virtually, transmetropolitan, transcontinental, in the world. Will you join us? Will you explore with us? Can you hear me? Am I clear to you? Will you build with me? Will you build with us? And can we build together? We're heading into a place where compasses do not exist, and there is no North Star. The AI frontier is as wild as it's ever been and will become an innovation. But if we go together, hopefully by grace, then perhaps we can see the other side of it together. Build with trust. Farewell to you. Keep safe. And on this occasion of Gatherverse XREvolve 2025, our gather was well. And upon the next time, if we are so afforded that opportunity to meet again, may our well.
Not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform, the other foot on the trail. Going back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. Well, there is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I